Turley comes in with the bases filled and 2 out. He deflects Crandall's liner, and McDougall throws him out to end the scoreless inning. Hits into a force out, the game is over. Yankees 7, Braves nothing. Bob Turley joins Walter Johnson as the only pitcher to twice fan 10 or more batters in a World Series game. The Braves get 2 runners on in the 9th, but the game and the series is over. Turley finishes a superlative job to play a part in each of these 3 Yankee victories in a row.
My name is Bob Turley. I was a pitcher for the New York Yankees for over 8 years. After retiring out of baseball, I joined Art Williams and A.O. Williams and found out that the opportunity that was there was just unbelievable.
Bullet Bob Turley, an all-time giant in the history of A.O. Williams. What a hero he was. What a hero he was as a professional athlete. You know, the New York Yankees won 23 pennants in 24 consecutive years. There'll never be another dynasty like that in all of sports.
And Bob, what part did you play in that game?
Well, I was the winning pitcher. I pitched the first game in Baltimore in over 50 years.
And won it.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us. A lot of good luck to you.
You know, Bob Turley, in 1 year with the New York Yankees, he won the Hickok Belt, he won the Cy Young Pitcher Award, same year, and then he won the most valuable player in the World Series. In 1 year, that guy did that. This guy was a legend. Bullet Bob Turley was unbelievable. And you know, I didn't really go for recruiting professional athletes because most professional athletes had this attitude that everybody ought to welcome them in their home just because of who they were, and they ought to buy from them just because he was Bullet Bob Turley. But back then, professional athletes didn't make a lot of money. I think Bob, with all his success, his best income year with the Yankees was like $30,000 a year. So when Bob retired, he moved to Atlanta and started selling by term and invest the difference. But he was selling so much term insurance, the companies kept kicking him out, because they wanted him to sell cash value insurance. True story, okay? Bob Turley was friends with Scott Reynolds. He goes, tell Scott, I gotta find a company. They keep kicking me out. He says, you ought to meet Art Williams.
Bob was a guy who, you know, he had a great career, obviously Cy Young, MVP of the World Series, and just turned that into a business career that basically transcended everything he did in baseball. You know, when Bob started at A.O. Williams, you know, the company didn't even have an attorney. Bob brought his own attorney over, who became the company attorney. He had his own office. He was the only guy with a computer. It was just incredible in the early days, you know. And you read about him, you know, and he talked about this when they were in the World Series back in the day, and they were in the World Series a lot for the Yankees. And they got paid based on the attendance. And after the 7th inning, they would announce the attendance, and all the players in the dugout would look down at Bob, and without a calculator, he'd figure out exactly how much their check was going to be for playing in the World Series based on the announced attendance. I mean, he was just always big with the numbers. He could measure the stack of applications that we were going to take back to Atlanta. He'd measure them by the inch and tell you exactly how much premium we had that we're taking to the home office. It was 2 feet high or 3 feet high or 18 inches or whatever. He knew all the numbers.
But I want to tell you something. I'm more excited today than I was 35 years ago as a Yankee ball player. One of those things, Art says, just a little bit more. Are you willing to put out that little extra? Because that's all it takes for a short period of time.
Every time that I would talk to Bob, he would give me an idea. He would give me something that made my business better. And what an unbelievable person to make a difference, whether or not he overrode you or not. But he gave his life to this business, to helping people, and make life better.
But if you go out like we do and work hard and recruit the numbers that this organization's recruiting, you want to celebrate the end of the month. Is that right? You see, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's to come here and it's to bring those new recruits and those people that you're trying to give them a little hope and an opportunity to bring them with you and show what excitement's all about.
And I think we're crazy not to bring our people out to see Bob Turley. And Bob, comes out and expands the vision. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in A.L. Williams who sells a bigger picture, sells the dream, and shows the vision bigger than Bob Turley.
It's one thing to be a professional athlete and be that guy, the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was on the Tonight Show and that day, and I mean, just an incredible career. But transcending that into A.L. Williams and Primerica, I mean, he touched millions and millions of lives here. You figure all the business that he built, the hierarchy that he had. Bob Turley, by making a decision as one person, transcended his career into something else here that affected millions of people in a major positive way, way more than the sport.
You wonder, when are you going to come down off of this high? And I've got to tell you now, for almost 18 months, it's been a continual high for me. It's been one of those things that you just never can get enough of.
What he did was just unbelievable. He built a business that covered 36 states and Canada. He had 600 RVPs, 92 SVPs, 55 NSDs, 217 people making over $100,000 a year, 10 making over $1 million a year. An annual payroll, listen to this folks, of $145 million a year. In 10 years, that's $1.4 billion. Bob's income was $3.1 million a year. And when Bob died, he left a business worth over $1 billion.